For this project, I chose to look at the social emotional learning being checked and recorded locally. I chose this one because this is part of the work that we're doing in a district that I'm working with right now. And I think social emotional learning is probably one of the least understood components of the 5 areas that we're looking at for improvement within the state of Kansas. In order to get buy-in from the teachers, I think it's going to be important to start at the beginning with a why behind the scenes. So why are we looking at social emotional learning? Why aren't we just assuming that kids come to school with those pieces in place? So I wanted to make a quick reference to Dr. Watson's and Brad Neuenschwander's roadshow that he mentioned actually in the video, and the fact that kids are less likely to be ready from the soft skills than they are to be ready from the academic skills. And when they talked to employers, they were seeing the non-academic skills being named, I think, over 70% of the time. So I felt like that's a good starting place with teachers, not only at the high school level, but also at the elementary and even the pre-K level. From there, I thought we would talk about how we're going to get started. In this particular district, we're going to be using the screener called the SABRS. It stands for Social, Academic, Emotional Behavior Risk Screener. This is part of the FastBridge assessments. Part of the reason the district selected FastBridge was because they could get reading, math, and behavior social screeners all in one package. So they were pretty excited about that. I also personally like the SABRS because it seems a little less negative. If you look at some of the other screeners out there for social emotional, they ask teachers to score kids on how likely they are to lie or to cheat or steal. This tends to ask more questions like, this student works well in small groups, the student has trouble completing work. So it's a little less negative, and I think it's a little easier to score honestly. So this would be the next step, what I would be showing my district here. Here's the assessment tool we're going to be using. It also has a piece called My Sabers where students screen themselves on these very same skills. And you can get a graph that compares how the teacher scored them to how the student scored himself. And so you're looking again at discrepancies in those. These really are just used to shake out maybe some possible risk in students. And so I think a starting place would be to introduce the screener, train teachers in the screener, make them comfortable with it, let them do some sample screenings and look at what those reports would look like. Again, reminding them that that data is local data. The other component that we're putting in place right now as part of their Kansas MTSS is we're putting in a social emotional curriculum for all students. Currently in this district, they implement Second Step, which is a research-based validated curriculum for social emotional. So that's what they'll be using in pre-K through 8. But the high school has gotten in as one of the pilot sites for the college and career competencies, which are being developed by Dr. Amy Gummer Erickson and Patty Noonan. So introducing this curriculum to all the teachers, getting them trained in the appropriate curriculum for their grade level is going to be pretty critical. Also making sure that they're making time in that schedule for that to occur. Instruction in Second Step happens once a week for about 20 minutes, fits really nicely into the whole class meeting idea. The college and career competencies are actually done within all of the contents areas, so it's designed to be embedded in instruction all day. So kind of an exciting option for schools to look at this point. Alongside of this would be the behavior expectation matrix that each school is developing. So there's some expectations set up for kids of what behavior should look like in various settings within their building. Finally, the piece that we'll put into place once we've set in a solid Tier 1 curriculum for social emotional skills, we've placed that behavior expectation matrix in place, now we're going to be ready to talk about what do we do for those students that's not enough for. So some of the things that we'll be developing over the next year would be some appropriate interventions. These are not interventions that you purchase similar to what you would purchase like a reading curriculum or a supplemental math curriculum, but instead there's some strategies that we teach teachers to use to help students begin to fill in those missing pieces in their skills to make them truly college and career ready. So those would be the steps that we would take as if I was going to implement this within a district, and in fact how the steps we are taking right now within the district I'm working in.